Okay, so now we're going to do Chapter 12 homework, and actually, this is kind of just a little bit more detailed information about the consumption and investment components, if you like, of our gross domestic product. So we'll go Section 2, and we're going to go down to our Chapter 12. It's on production and growth. Open up our homework, and remember, we do the ones that say counts towards grade, and we'll click on that. And we'll have several questions, but it's not as bad as it might seem. So we'll click on that and we'll get going. So this question is trying to get you to think about what happens in societies if we have more consumption going on, or spending, you can think of it, at the expense of reducing investment. So just quick reminder, consumption would be the spending of on goods by consumers, and investment would be the spending component by firms. And investment generally refers to, investing in machinery and equipment. So if we were as a society to invest less in machinery and equipment, what do you think is going to happen to economic growth in the long run? So in essence, we discussed this in class. What's going to happen if we don't invest in our infrastructure, or if companies don't purchase new machinery and equipment over time, and those machines and equipment, the old ones, start breaking down? What's going to ultimately happen to growth in the country? So I think you should be able to answer that. Then the next part is saying, which of the following statements are true about groups in society that would benefit from or be hurt by this change? So all you'll want to do here is just kind of go through each one and say, okay, as we've talked about in class all the time, for every one person that benefits, there's always some sort of a loss somewhere. So the first one says, all groups will have higher incomes as the result of faster economic growth. Is that true? Just based on what I just said. So that's what you're going to want to do. You'll want to just read them one by one, and I think you'll be okay on answering those. And we'll continue on. Okay, the second question, again, is just trying to get you to really think about, what components are part of consumption, what components are part of investment. So I'll get you going here. So people buying, so here we are. Sorry, let me go right here. People buying washing machines, is that the consumer or is that the firm? I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Firms buying automobiles for delivery service, and so that's meaning they're delivering their products. Is that consumption or is that investment? So I think it's pretty self-explanatory here from, who consumes and who invests. So on this part here, it says, for each form of government spending, indicate whether it represents consumption or investment. It seems a little bit weird how they've done this, but remember, we have consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net spending by foreigners. So this question is all about government spending, but all that they're trying to get you to think about here is would it be a type of spending that would be, so it would all be under government spending, but would it be a type of spending like we as consumers would be doing, or as firms would be doing? That's how you want to approach that question, and then I think you should be okay with that. Okay, we'll continue on. Okay, the next question. So this is, again, trying to get you to think about this idea of investing or non-investing in capital, and what is the opportunity cost. So if we invest in capital, when it asks what is the opportunity cost of investing in capital, it's saying what are we having to give up when we purchase capital, which again in economics, remember, is machinery and equipment. So as you approach this, you want to look at this as what is the best answer here. The true-false one is saying if people prefer to have lower consumption spending and higher future growth, the country is possibly over-investing in capital. What do you think about that? And I think as you go through these, as long as you have a good understanding of, what it means to invest in capital, which is investing in our machinery and equipment, which allows us to grow in an economy. And as long as you understand what human capital investment means, which is, investing in human capital, meaning the skills and education and the experiences that we have as laborers, what is the cost of doing this in a society, and who benefits and who doesn't. So I think you should be okay with these questions here. So I'm just going to move on. Okay, so this one says, in the 90s and the first decade of 2000s, investors from Asian economies of Japan and China made significant direct portfolio investments in the U.S. At the time, many Americans were unhappy about this investment was occurring. And a lot of it had to do with back in the 1990s. It was relatively new to have foreign investment throughout the world, actually, going into other countries. And it's been a big change. Today we look at it, and I don't think people really think that much of it, but a lot of foreign investment was coming in. So the question says, it was better for the U.S. to receive this foreign investment because it would lead to faster economic growth. So what do you think? So it really comes down to, on this question, do you think foreign investment or foreign companies, companies investing in the U.S., what do you think it does for an economy? And think of your production possibility there. And then the next part of the question says, it's best for Americans that China and Japan, rather than American themselves, made the investment because Americans could receive the returns on the investment made by China and Japan. This is a great question because this really gets to the crux of why a lot of people get concerned with foreign investment coming into a country, because it's foreign investment, so potentially what could happen to the wealth made by foreign investment might be that it leaves the country. So I think that should help you answer that question. Okay, let's keep moving forward. This one is asking, okay, many developing countries, young women have lower enrollment rates in secondary school than do young men. So with that said, which of the following observations are consistent with greater educational opportunities for young women, leading to faster growth in these countries? So what do you think, which of these three here is going to basically best answer that question? I don't know really what else to say on that one, so we'll just move on. It says, international data show a positive correlation between income per person and the health of the population. So if that's the case, individuals with lower incomes are in worse health, but this leads to greater productivity because sicker workers have higher medical expenses. So what do you think of that statement based on the evidence supporting that there's a positive correlation, meaning when income goes up per person, health of the population also goes up? That's what positive correlation means. Or it means when income goes down per person, the health of the population goes down. So if the data is demonstrating that there's a positive correlation between income per person and the health, is this statement true or false? I think you can kind of get that one from that. And then this one is saying, this is just a good little review, because Adam Smith's work is really important to this day. And here's a quote. It says, little else is requisite to carry a state to the highest degree of opulence, from the lowest barbarism, but peace, easy taxes, and a tolerable administration of justice, all the rest being brought about by the natural course of things. So basically what he was saying here is, in his work, is that we need to have peace, we need to have easy taxes. So it doesn't say no taxes, easy taxes. And it also says a tolerable administration of justice. It's all key components. His writing is really, really interesting, and obviously had huge impact in market economies and in the world since his writing back in the 1700s. So that statement is then saying, is this true or false? Low taxation would lead to slower economic growth because it encourages citizens and businesses to consume more and invest less. What do you think about that based on what he believes? And notice it says low taxation would lead to slower growth. So be careful how you're reading that. And that's it. So hopefully that helps.